Welcome back here to Sports Central. My name is Platinum Kimutwe Davis. You with me for company ready for the talking point in the world of football. And football, here we go. Let's begin a conversation from a Nigerian point of view. The new coach of the Super Eagles of Nigeria, Bruno Labbadia. In case you're still wondering what the name is, Bruno Labbadia. We can do the rehearsal as fast as possible. Over time, we've talked about Jose Pizarro, and now it's Bruno Labbadia, the German international. Previously Italian before a switch camp, becoming a German international. Well, let's talk about it. He's brought out a list, that list of 23 players who will be engaging for the Super Eagles of Nigeria against Benin Republic at the Gospel Apabi International Stadium for the AFCON 2025 events qualifiers. The game take place September 7th, and 3 days after September 10th, they'll move to Kigali taking on Rwanda. And now let's look at the list now. Goalkeeper, we have Stanley Nwabali, Maraka Okoye, Amos Omorage in that direction. Defenders, William Truseka making a return to the national team after that injury and break and moving to the Saudi League. Semi Ajayi, Calvin Bassi of Fulham, Olisanda also returning of Orlando Pirates, and Ola Aina returning to the national team after missing out because of a few injuries. Brighton Samuel of Fenerbahce, Bruno Yamachi of Boavista also being part of it. And for the midfielders, Alex Iwobi of Fulham, Franco Yeka of Brentford Football Club, Hassan Yusuf of Royal Antwerp. We're talking about Wilfred Ndidi, Leicester City, Fisayo Dele Bashiru, and now with Lazio in Serie A, Rafael Onyedika, Club Brugge, and forward, double Lookman Atlanta, Samuel Chukwueze, AC Milan, Victor Osimhen. We talk about the African Footballer of the Year there, and Moses Simon, Kelechi Iheanacho, Sevilla Football Club, Taiwo Wuniyi, Nottingham Forest, and Victor Boniface about Leverkusen. Whatever you see in the list now, massive list from the new coach now, and it makes all the sense. Some top players missing. First it would be Tanimu and Awaziem also missing out of this Labbadia's list. And who else would be missing out in this one now? But what a list we have in our hands.
I think those are obvious names basically, and I think at the moment I'm not surprised about the inclusion of those players. Those are regular names, particularly when it has to do with the Super Eagles of Nigeria. First of all, I'm quite excited about the return of the man Victor Osimhen back to the setup. Also talking about the man Olisenda. Yeah. I'm even coming there because I think it's a surprise inclusion for me. And of course, the man that plays for Nottingham Forest, he's been quite unfortunate with injury worries in recent times. Taiwo Wuniyi, so he's back to the setup now. Victor Boniface is also back. So I think we've got a whole lot of options when we talk about attackers now. So it won't be any excuses whatsoever for us missing chances heading into that game. Well, however, I'm also surprised by the inclusion of the man Olisenda now to the national team. He's missed the Super Eagles setup for about 2 years now, and there were question marks regarding the criteria for selection. Because in recent times, you've seen Benjamin Tamino, who plays in Tanzania, being called up to the Super Eagles setup. And we've been asking questions.
He did play well.
Now, I'm not saying
well.
I'm not saying he didn't play well.
Bendel Insurance footballer.
Absolutely. I'm not saying he didn't play well, but I'm also looking at the recent success of Olisanda when he was invited to the national team setup in an AFCON
with a national team.
Was he given another opportunity?
That's the conversation.
I think basically for me now, he's got the quality. We're also talking about bringing a winning mentality into the side. A regular starter for Orlando Pirates, it brings him some level of wealth of experience into the side as well. So I think the inclusion for me is also worth it. Gone are those days where we used to invite players based on the fact that they are regular appearance with the national team. The likes of Awaziem have not done really well in recent times. He was usually invited to the national team. So now it is a clear case of you are invited based on your level of performance.
Well, the problem with the mention of Awaziem is you now excuse to listen there and criticize Awaziem. Has he been given enough opportunity to play to?
No, come on, Awaziem has been given an opportunity. How many AFCON has he played at the national team? He's played several AFCON. More than, I think, two AFCON.
He's played one.
He's played two. The one in Cameroon, basically, and the AFCON before.
The last AFCON was Awaziem there?
No, Awaziem wasn't there, basically. I think another tournament, though I've forgotten.
On the Gannett Roll he played.
Yeah, definitely.
On the Gannett Roll.
So I look
still didn't really have the opportunity to play.
No, he had the opportunity to play as the right back all through the entire duration of the tournament. Maybe a few games. Because I watched.
A few games.
No, came in. He was a regular start in one of those AFCON.
Who's been the #1 right back at the time for the Super Eagles?
Well, Laina wasn't there at that particular tournament. So I was looking at Awaziem and, of course, the likes of Jamilu Collins.
Well, Laina was there.
No, Laina wasn't. In the first AFCON where he participated.
All right.
Basically.
Well,
so
we don't have the facts, so we can't.
The man Olisenda, rather, at this point, I think he merits that opportunity. And once again, he has to stamp his authority when given the chance.
When given the chance to talk about it, listen, that big chance for him now. Moving forward, let's see what it brings to the national team. Well, the game first would be against the Cheetahs of Benin Republic at the Gospel Akpabio International Stadium, September 7th. And afterwards, 3 days later, September 10th, it would also be against Rwanda in Kigali. Well, you talk about Chidozie Awaziem. He moved to Major League Soccer club, FC Cincinnati. And it could be the reason why he's missing out of action for the Super Eagles of Nigeria. But the newcomers, good for them. Let's talk about a player that's not been called up for a while now. Denise forward at the time, Isaac Success. We're here. There have been consensual termination of his contract at the club. And let's look at Isaac Success' performance. 3 years span at Udinese. How many goals did he score? 6 goals and 17 assists in 83 appearances across all competition. Success first gained prominence as a top scorer at the 2013 Under-17 AFCON with 7 goals, and joined Udinese from Watford 2021 across 240 games playing for Udinese, Malaga, Granada, and Watford. Success scored 28 goals and 32 assists. Ultimate David, finally, it seemed like Isaac Success at his position at Udinese coming to an end. His move around clubs that's being co-owned by the same owners, Watford, Granada, and the rest of them. He's been a journeyman around it, and finally at Udinese, and the contract terminated. In terms of performance, what do you make of Isaac Success?
Poor performance, I must say. Very entirely poor performance. It occurs to me like not Emmanuel Dennis was seen now at this point. A man that gained so much prominence, was also touted to be one of the biggest superstars at the national team setup, couldn't live up to the billing. Because I do not understand why a player would play 3 different club sides and still do not find his feet, still do not find his momentum across several leagues in Europe. So I think at the moment the problem is Isaac Success himself. At Watford, he was a regular starter. Maybe a few games where he was quite injured, couldn't play for them. At Udinese, I do not see players that with so much quality that could actually bench D-man Isaac Success at this point. I think at some point last season we talked about the man scoring back-to-back goals, but it has been a steady and massive decline. Look at what is also happening to the man, what's the name? Maduka Okoye, rather, at Udinese. This started last season well, but immediately given the opportunity, he showcased he's a good goalkeeper. So I think the man Isaac Success has got himself to blame at this point. He's been given several opportunities to showcase his potential. Udinese couldn't just do that. And maybe it is also one of the reasons why his contract has been terminated.
It brings the next question now. We saw him at Under-17 level at that AFCON where he was introduced. Such prominence he had. Better than Kelechi Iheanacho at the time before being injured. And Kelechi Iheanacho really shown at the World Cup, becoming the best player at the whole World Cup. He scored 7 goals and everyone talked about him. And moved to Udinese and different clubs within this embodiment. But the question would be, what changed for Isaac Success?
I think nothing changed. It is basically about, being quite, I don't know how to put it now, being getting some level of surety within yourself. It is something you've done before. So immediately you travel to Europe, there is this concern of, I have done this thing over time and time again as a youngster. No, he's no longer a youngster. Look at what happened.
You're talking about at the time he moved to Europe as a youngster.
Absolutely.
I'm looking at it as a youngster now because you go to the biggest clubs and trying to find a balance.
He didn't even go to a big club rather. Look at what happened to Kelechi Iheanacho. Immediately he left the Under-17 World Cup straight up to Manchester City. Wasn't even a regular starter rather. He was a youngster playing at the reserve team until he was promoted. What happened when he was given the opportunity?
Similarly saying, for this player now, he's had opportunity at the biggest team.
That's what I'm saying.
At Watford, we saw him
Absolutely.
play. But something seemed to change about him. Before now, he was a goal scorer. Afterwards, drifted to the wing and started playing for the wing. But the numbers are not counting.
Still doesn't find his footing because you can be tried in several positions, and of course, he's still struggling. So it is a clear case of, the man Isaac Success not putting the work into what he knows how to do best. And I think at this point, the steady decline for the man Isaac Success is as a result of not putting hard work into his game.
Well, Lieutenant David thinks it's all about hard work, not putting hard work. Many begin to wonder what happened to Isaac's success and the cost of it. A bright light for him as a Nigerian player, a youngster at Under-17, but it never really added up the way it ought to, despite being around the biggest of clubs around Europe.